we're going to go over a solution to the CSS selectors problem set. And I'm just going to go over every problem from the top down. So feel free to fast forward if there's just one or two that you had trouble with. So we did the first one together in the initial video. Give the body element a background of this color. So we just say body background is this color. Save this. Let's go ahead and load it up in the browser, refresh, and you can see we get a gray background. So the next one is make the H1 element this color. So the same thing, except rather than background, we just set color. We save, and here's our H1, it turns purple. Remember, if we had more than one H1 on the page, they would all be purple. So this next one is make all H2 elements orange. So exact same selector as the above two. And then to make it orange, I'm just going to use the built-in orange color. But you could use any other color system. And you can see we get every H2, there's 4 of them, they turn orange. So next up, I'm just going to shift this over to the side. Make all LI elements blue. Pick your own hexadecimal blue. So to do that, we select all LIs, and then we give them a color. And we're going to do a hexadecimal blue. So you could put anything here as long as it's more blue than anything else. So remember, the first channel is red. Then the next two are green. So we'll do a little bit of green. Let's do, and then a bunch of blue. Save that. And let's take a look at the LIs. And you can see we get blue LIs. So now change the background on every paragraph to be yellow. It's just one more where we select every element of a type. So all paragraphs, background, yellow, save, and we get a bunch of yellow paragraphs. Next up, select all inputs and give them a 3-pixel red border. So input, border, and there's a few ways of doing this. We can do it all at once. Border, 3-pixel solid red. And you can see our 2 inputs have a 3-pixel solid red border. Or we could do these separately. Border color is red. Border width is 3 pixels. And finally, border style is solid. For pretty obvious reasons, it's a lot easier to do this. But occasionally, you'll want to, and we'll do this when we get to JavaScript, we'll want to just update one part. So when a user hovers over something, we want to change it from a red border to a green border. Well, we might just want to change the color, and we can leave the width and the style how they are. So I'm going to leave it like this. Next, we're now moving on to the class selector. So give everything with the class hello a white background. And if we look at the HTML, there's actually just one thing, this first paragraph inside this div with class hello. So we select that class, dot, hello, background, white. And you can see we get this paragraph here turns white. Next up, give the element with ID special a 2-pixel solid blue border. Pick your own RGB blue. So same thing again. This time, instead of a dot, we use the hash sign or the octothorpe, and then the name of the ID, which you can see again is right here. ID is special. And then we want to give it a 2-pixel solid border. So 2-pixel solid, and then an RGB blue. And so we'll have 0 red, 100 green, 200 blue. And if we refresh that, you can see we get, it's pretty slight, but a 2-pixel blue border around this paragraph with the ID. Next up, make all the paragraphs that are nested inside of divs 25-pixel font. And the hint is use this property, font dash size 25 pixels. So what we need to do here is rather than select all paragraphs, we only want paragraphs that are inside of a div. So you can see there are some, like this one here, that is not inside a div. We don't want those to be 25 pixels in font size. So we use this descendant selector where we say div, and then inside of that div, all paragraphs. So paragraphs that live in any div, it doesn't matter which div, just any paragraphs in any divs. We'll select them and give them font size 25 pixels. Save that, refresh. You can see that these all get bigger, but these ones that say paragraph not inside a div don't get bigger because they're not inside of a div. Next up, make only inputs with type text have a gray background. So this is another type of selector, and it's based off of an attribute. So the attribute we want to do is find where type is equal to text. So basically just this input right here, type equals text. And so the way that we do that, we're going to type input and then square braces, square braces, and then inside of there, the attribute, which is type, and we're looking for where it's equal to text, and then we're just going to say background gray. And then if we scroll down here and refresh, keep your eye right here, you can see we get a gray background. So again, this one's useful if we wanted to select all links that went to Google. We would select based off of href, or we could select off of any other attribute out there. So next up, give both paragraphs inside the third div a pink background. So this one gets a little bit crazy. So let's take a look at the HTML. Here's our third div. The first one is here, the second one is here, and the third one is here. And there's two paragraphs, and we want to select both of them and give them a pink background. So what we did before was select all paragraphs inside of all divs. That won't work here. What we do want to do is select all paragraphs inside of the third div on the page. And the way that we can specify the third div is to use nth of type. So we'll say div nth of type 3. So that's going to give us a third div. And then inside of that, all paragraphs. And then we're just going to say background is pink. And save, refresh, and let's double check. Here's our first div. Here is the second div. And here's the third div. The two paragraphs start with cardigan, and I'm the second paragraph. There we go, cardigan, I'm the second paragraph. Next up, give the second paragraph inside the third div a 5-pixel border, white border. So this one's very similar, except we only want the second paragraph inside the third div, so just this one. So we do the same thing where we select the third div, nth of type 3, and then rather than all paragraphs, we're then going to do paragraph nth of type, and we want the second one. So we can combine them. This is going to select the second paragraph inside of the third div. And we want to give it a 5-pixel white border. Border, 5-pixel solid white. There we go. Here's our 5-pixel solid white border on the second paragraph in the div, not the first one. Next up,